out a new paint formula for the cars that were going to the Middle East, and they solved that problem. In Brazil, because of the poor condition of the roads there, the suspension was breaking down right away. They built an entirely different suspension system for the cars that were going to Brazil. And this was the birth of this culture of iterative improvement, of a focus on quality and improving quality almost in the field. And that is, above all else, the key to Hyundai's success. A lot of people have there's still a little bit of a sense of that Hyundai is a low-quality car. It's not. Hyundais make spectacular cars for relatively low cost compared to their competitors. And they're able to do so because from the very beginning of this journey, they focused on quality, and they did so in a very in a successful way. But it took a while, and by the mid-1990s, the Hyundai was having difficulties in the United States because of the quality issue. The brand name was suffering because the cars had a reputation for low quality. Meanwhile, Daewoo had successfully invested overseas in Eastern Europe especially, but also had built its brand with the GM partnership in Korea and the Korean domestic market. And it was now in the mid-1990s going to focus all its energy on conquering the North American market. And it did so by, for the first time, well, not the first time, but it was also designing and developing its own cars also. And the Daewoo cars reached the North American market in the mid-90s and were a tremendous flop. They were not successful in broaching the North American market. And part of that, I think, was kind of a quality issue that they inherited from Hyundai, in the sense that Hyundai had gotten a bad rap for quality, and that kind of, another Korean car, it must be a poor quality car. Then the IMF crisis hit, and the IMF crisis of 1997-1998 essentially changed everything in Korea. It was a very traumatic time for the nation. And Daewoo made the decision to try to invest its way out of the crisis. It poured every last bit of cash it had into building new factories and redoubling its efforts on the North American market. Hyundai did the opposite. It contracted its operations, it cut factories, it laid off some workers. And it also was another Korean car manufacturer, KEI, went into insolvency, and Hyundai was able to buy its assets at fire sale prices. So now this new company, Hyundai KEI, refocused its attention on the North American market, which is the largest car market in the world. Actually, it's about to be superseded by China, but for right now, it's the largest car market in the world. And but things were not going well in the United States. And essentially, they fired the CEO. They brought in a gentleman named, the general counsel, a gentleman named Finbar O'Neill. Actually, on this slide, sorry. And essentially to wrap up the company in North America because things were going so poorly. And one of the things that O'Neill did was he flew around the country to the Hyundai dealers. And he was amazed at what he saw, because every dealership he went to, the repair bays were empty. They weren't fixing these cars. And he said, why aren't you fixing cars? They're not bringing them in to get fixed. These cars have changed so dramatically in the last few years. The quality has improved so much that we don't need, we have plenty of time on our hands. And he realized that something had changed in Hyundai, that the cars were significantly different than before. So he flew to Korea, and he did the thing that if you read any textbooks on how to be a Western executive in a Asian corporation, you're supposed to never, ever do. He told his Korean bosses that they were wrong, and he said, I can fix this company and I know how. And I think what is truly a signal of a new Hyundai and a new way of this corporate culture towards quality, what is also surprising is they listened. They said, okay, do it. So what he did was he returned to the United States and offered this famous warranty. that in the industry is sometimes referred to as the mother of all warranties. The traditional car warranty is 3 years, 36,000 miles. He said, we are going to put the Hyundai name and cash behind the quality of these cars. We will warranty, essentially it's an insurance policy, right? We will give this insurance policy for these cars. We will fix the car if it breaks down, not for 3 years, but for 10 years. Not for 36,000 miles, for 100,000 miles. He was universally derided by other people in the car industry for doing this. But it was an incredible success. People felt, the consumer felt, well, if the company is willing to put its own money on the line to vouch for the quality, I'm willing to invest in this car. And in the year 2000, I think it was 2001, when this warranty was offered, sales tripled. And that was essentially the beginning of the upturn for Hyundai. So if you fast forward to today, I have seen in several publications 2009 being referred to as the year of the Korean car. This was really the year of the emergence of especially Hyundai Kia as a major player in the car industry. And an example of that is the Genesis. This is a near luxury brand car. It's a $40,000 car competing against $60,000 Lexuses. And it's an excellent car. It is so good that it was voted the car of the year at the Detroit Auto Show in the beginning of 2009, which is probably the most coveted prize in the automobile industry. And the Genesis is just a symbol of where Hyundai is today. They are also introducing a car soon called the Equus, which is going to be a true luxury car, competing on fair footing with all the other luxury brands, Lexus, Infiniti. And that is essentially where they have arrived. And one interesting note is they have not created a luxury brand. That's the traditional way of doing it in the car industry. That's how Toyota created Lexus. I think it's Nissan did Infiniti, Honda did Accord. And it's creating this different brand so you can continue to sell mid-value cars as well as the high-end cars. Hyundai purposely has kept its, and a lot of people expected Hyundai to create its own luxury brand. But I think it's interesting to note that it hasn't. The Equus is a Hyundai-branded car. And 2009 saw, although there was double-digit decline in the overall growth rate of the car market in 2009, Hyundai actually saw an increase in sales in 2009, 6% increase in sales. And it now has 4.5% of the U.S. market, and it is the 5th largest car manufacturer in the world. Now, I don't want to, this is not meant to be a Hyundai-only talk, but I think this is the question on everybody's mind in the car industry is, who are these guys? How did they do what they did in the past few years? And I think, number one, the biggest answer to that, it has to do with their nimbleness, their ability to do creative marketing, their ability to respond quickly to market conditions, which the larger car companies have shown to have been very ham-handed. Their ability to make quick decisions and then put the full force of the company behind those decisions. And to some degree, they're just historically aided. They don't have the enormous legacy costs that some of the American car companies have. And of course, the culture of iterative improvement, this constant focus on quality and on improvement, which they have so successfully made an integral part of the company. But I want to especially focus on the third bullet point here, which is vertical integration. The one thing that sets apart Hyundai separately from other car companies, and a significant qualitative difference is the structure, in the sense that more parts are made by Hyundai itself. And this was essentially the reason, the reaction to the quality problem early on was the real problem was suppliers' parts were not up to par. And I have heard one car executive told us in the course of writing this book that The Toyota's success essentially is they were able to engineer a car around their suppliers' parts deficiencies. That essentially when you have a modern car company, I think the number I've heard is for every person employed in the actual auto factory where